You're listening to DraftKings Network.
Hey DraftKings fans, are you ready to elevate your game day snacking experience? This college football season, we're feeling the cheesiest with Cheez-It. That's right, delicious Cheez-It crackers not only satisfy your snack cravings for game day excitement, but they are also amplifying your football watching experience with a new daily fantasy sports game. Best of all, since Cheez-Its is made with 100% real cheese, the game is 100% free to play with a chance of winning real cash. Be sure to carefully select your favorite Cheez-It flavor to snack on. White cheddar, extra toasty, or maybe you're an OG fan, while you select your weekly players for college football's cheesiest challenge all season long. So snack and play like a champ with Cheez-It.
Age and eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See DraftKings.com/Cheez-It for full details.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB The CV. Copyright 2024. Proximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.
Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings.
Why are you listening to this show?
The podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
All right, I have another OLI.
Well, because it's hard to trust. Go ahead, though.
Another one, the second one. Okay.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
The only issue with him is health. But if Joe Burrow's in a game, I don't think I'm going to lose that because Joe Burrow blew me the game.
You're trusting him not to get injured, though, you said.
No, I understand. That's why he's OLI.
Availability.
He didn't make the top 5. That's why he's OLI. You're really screwing him. He's right there.
All right, go ahead.
Right there. Number 5, Tom Brady.
Like it. Not number 1.
Right now, today. Trust him.
You know what? Fair.
Number 4, Patrick Mahomes.
4.
Yeah.
4. Okay.
3 better than this.
Nope. End of list. It's impossible to trust guys. It's really hard. You put hundreds of millions of dollars in investment in these guys, they could turn an ankle on an offensive lineman going backwards. It's an impossible sport.
People are coming after me on Twitter saying that there are not 30 good point guards and 30 good small forward. Like that I was
They're
wrong.
right.
Yeah, and that all these sports, there aren't 30 good of all of these.
Mm-hmm. No.
So maybe it's just hard to find good athletes, maybe.
No, it's hard to be greater than all of the good athletes.
There it is.
Because I do think the thing that gets lost is what Mike was saying. That whole thing about the team obsessing with all of their athletes about exactly where all of your weaknesses are. Like they send out advanced scouts, organizations study everything in the film and data departments, and all of them are studying your. Imagine, Chris, given how you do this job.
Well,
if another team was preparing all week to get you to do it poorly, to defend against you
kind of are
doing it well.
You're just describing Billy. But just imagine, you're trying to do your job, and the Jim Rome Show has sent an advanced scout to get in your way and learn, all the ways that you're bad at your job. Ill-timed bathroom break. Okay, give him water. It's a tough job.
They're, making noise in here on third down. I'm like, quiet, guys. I'm trying to focus.
Again, though, when Mike says it's a tough job, 3 human beings did it really well last night, and you guys wanted to talk about the one who didn't.
Sports. We're guys.
Well, that's how we do it on sports radio.
The guy who didn't was one of the most hyped quarterback prospects in football history.
Yeah, to me, that's the story.
Right.
The one guy that didn't play well was tabbed as a can't miss. Joe Burrow is, you can make an argument, he's the greatest college quarterback of all time. He didn't come in as a number 1 overall pick with the certified stamp of can't miss. Trevor Lawrence did.
Okay, you say that, but all 3 of the quarterbacks who played well last night, all of them, were drafted really high because their athletic gifts suggested, oh my God, Jayden Daniels averaged 10 yards per play in college. Averaged 10 yards per play because he was that kind of invincible in college. The three guys who played well last night, everyone says they have the skill set to be special players. I was one of them saying Josh Allen did not because he was inaccurate in college.
Right. I mean, Josh Allen went to Wyoming.
Yeah, he was the only guy that played last night that wasn't either taken number 1 overall or didn't win a Heisman. And he was still like a controversial high draft pick, but a high draft pick.
But had the physical gifts to overcome the fact that he had a completion percentage of 50% in college and turned the ball over a bunch.
Had great coaching, dude. Like Dorsey caught some flack because of they needed a sacrificial lamb, but they just kept Joe Brady, who was a part of that. They got guys from a staff that did that with Cam Newton, who also fell off pretty quickly, who never reached the heights of having that staff. Like
it started with Dayball.
Dayball brought in Dorsey and those guys that had success with Cam in Carolina.
It gets back to what I was saying. Jayden Daniels, by the way, has led the league in not getting hurt, dating back to a very, very long college career. A long college career like you're never, ever going to see again from a prominent NFL quarterback. He knows how to stay healthy. It is a skill.
Why are you never going to see it again?
So ridiculous.
I mean, he had 55 starts. When is that ever going to happen?
That's
Troy
never
Aikman was
happen
talking
again.
about that last night.
I had
the end of an era.
I had a long conversation. This is going to be a look at me, Louie, with a dude that led his team in the NFL's scout on Jayden Daniels. So like a total eval, like talking to family members, poured over every single snap. And come draft time, he said that Jayden Daniels was the best player in this draft, which I found shocking because I'm like, mobile Heisman winner, always relying on the mobility. Can he throw? We still have questions. He said, no, certifiably best guy in the draft. And we were talking last night as he was starting to pop off, isn't this guy going to get hurt? And he's like, it's impossible to predict that. All you can go off of is what someone has done in their career. He's always played the same kind of way, and he's always been kind of healthy, and he's a lot bigger than people think.
Okay, I'm not sure what that one means because both you and Stugotz have said it, and you gave me a listing of 210 pounds. When you talk about this stuff in this sport, and this part is, to me, Greg, why it is, if Josh Allen can somehow figure out the turnover thing, he represents the future of the position. When the hell are you worried about anybody other than defenders getting hurt when Josh Allen is running around in your secondary? He inverts the pyramid on, you're not worried. People are not sitting around worried that he's going to get hurt because of his style of play, which is wildly physically reckless.
I think what I'm doing is kind of like what you're doing. I've been doing this for years with Josh Allen. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. And now I think I'm just wrong across the board because he's just been so good.
It's because he's gotten lucky, though.
Well, he's been healthy.
The fact that you guys are attributing this to an ability and not just being fortunate.
It's not lucky. It's his size.
What do you...
Dude, he unnecessarily decides to punish people, and he's gotten away with it.
Right. Chris, he is bigger than the people who are trying to tackle him.
I believe that Josh Allen can be more durable than a really thin quarterback. That's obviously just physical stuff. But for you to say that Jayden Daniels has this skill of not getting... He's gotten very fortunate.
It's very determined a skill that he's
What a
learned
ridiculous
over the
thing
years.
to
Luck
say.
is such a huge part of this.
So huge.
RG3, his knee injury in Washington was because there was a low
unlucky,
snap out of the shotgun. It went behind him. He then twisted his knee in a bad turf and tore his ACL and LCL, and it ruined his career.
Slide.
And let's also
Slide, it was backwards.
Guys, let's also not forget that Robert Griffin looked at a room of Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, and a bunch of other coaches, LaFleur, and he's like, I know what to do here. Yep. You guys don't know what you're talking about. We're going to play this way.
Stugotz just made Josh Allen bigger than all the 340-pounders.
Listening audience, a lot has changed over our 20 years together. One thing that hasn't, the great taste of Miller Lite. Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing. The only beer worth talking about is Miller Lite.
But here, just so we're clear, this is a Miller Lite show.
I know it is.
And hey, Roy, out of curiosity, when you were winning your barbecue competition, I'm sure debates sprouted everywhere. But one thing that's not up for debate, the undebatable quality of Miller Lite.
You tell them.
Oh, it's going slow, by the way. Over the last couple of years, one thing that hasn't changed, great taste of Miller Lite, and another thing that hasn't changed, less filling. Only 96 calories per 12 ounces.
They sparked this debate way back in the 1970s.
The original light beer.
You don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/stand, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Don Le Batard.
You are a fool.
You're nobody.
You are an infant.
You
have no
nobody
thick skin.
to me.
No. I literally put together
Mike
a
Ryan
freaking stage for your toenail.
Nobody
I am your career right now, pal.
No.
Look at me.
No.
I am your career.
No.
Stugotz.
You have messed with McDavid, and now you're messing with me, and I'm more dangerous, pal.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
One of the things that always happens on Tuesdays is that Billy and Greg Cote become soulmates, and together they do-si-do and have a great time making their music
You
together.
tried to divide them earlier. I mean, not going to happen, Dan.
Well, they were here on different days, and what Billy said yesterday was what he said.
That was yesterday.
What did I say?
I was sent a clip of what Billy said yesterday, if you'd like to play it.
Yes,
well, I
thank
mean, we're
you.
seeing a picture of Will Levis as a horse right now, so what can we trust anymore?
Thank you. Please. Oh,
Well
so you're
played.
saying that this was distorted? You think that the video department, given all their fine work on the horse here, you think they distorted your voice to create audio that you're going to call fake news?
Possibly. I haven't heard it yet, but it's possible.
I've never seen Taylor as happy as he was on Greg Cody's boat when he...
Why the was Taylor on that boat? Okay. What did I say?
Right.
How is that a shot
Well,
at
what
Greg?
came after that? I need the audio of what came after that.
Okay, let's buy more time for them to fabricate things, I guess.
I mean, that was a pretty dismissive, like, why was he on that boat?
That wasn't a shot at Greg.
Let's take it a shot at the guest list.
Shot at Taylor.
No, falsehoods. If anything, that's a credit to Greg for being such a kind-hearted human being and so welcoming to invite a peon like Taylor onto that boat, you know?
Well, what I was saying about their kinship is I believe that they're aligned today on how it is that they feel about the Dolphins. And I'm getting, Stugotz, and this happens, man. Mike lived it. Mike lived it when the Browns all of a sudden had expectations and then everyone started laughing at them. I feel a hostility 3 games in off of Billy and Greg that's mad at the Dolphins because, damn you, you made me believe. You made me think that this was built right. And now, during the break, Greg Cote actually said out loud, the Dolphins only have themselves to blame.
That's true. That's a great point by Greg.
100%.
Yeah.
For the quarterback calamity they're in right now, okay? You have in Tua Tagovailoa the most fragile starting quarterback in the NFL because of his propensity to concussions.
He does not have the ability to avoid injury. All the other quarterbacks have that. He does not.
No, that's not true.
Not all of them.
He had the ability in the play 2 games ago that got him concussed again. He ran head-on into Damar Hamlin when he could have slid or gone in the fetal position
So
before
last
the
year,
contact.
he had the ability and then lost the ability during that play.
He had the ability 2 games ago and didn't use it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You guys are being ridiculous.
He gained
with
the
this,
ability.
by the way.
He gained the ability, which would speak to the point. It is an ability.
He had the ability.
You can acquire it. You can learn how to do it.
When he left the pocket, he had the ability, but then he forgot it when that ghost in the secondary for the Bills hit him.
He did lose some weight this offseason.
Yeah.
You guys are acting like there's measures that can't be taken to mitigate the chance of an injury. Like, obviously, football is a very dangerous game, and you can get injured one play to the next, but there are ways of playing to mitigate the risks so that you don't put yourself in harm's way to get injured as much.
But there are times where that ability means nothing.
Correct, but you guys are acting as though there's nothing that can be done to prevent
we're on the
injury
extremes
ever.
here. You guys are the ones saying that there's this inherent skill that he has.
We're not saying if you have the skill,
It's
you
a
can't
random
get hurt.
sport.
We're
No,
not saying you
no.
can't get hurt.
You can absolutely get hurt.
We're not saying like we're
No,
we're
Dan
not
is playing this game where he's egging you on. You don't seem to understand that you can avoid injury potentially. Like there's things that you can do to not put yourself in harm's way. You can still get injured on any given play,
100%.
but there's plays that you put yourself more at risk to getting injured than others.
Thank you, Billy. Dan's the one who said Matthew Stafford was made out of wicker. Listen, when I say that the Dolphins have themselves to blame, I mean that you have a quarterback who you know is fragile. So who's your backup? You got to have a big backup, right? You got to have a veteran backup who could, an Andy Dalton who can go right in there and you feel good.
Yep, should be a starter.
What do they have?
Yeah.
They don't have that. They could have had Andy Dalton. They could have had Jimmy Garoppolo.
Joe Flacco.
They could have traded for Justin Fields
Russell
for a
Wilson.
low
Yeah.
draft pick.
Right.
They did none of that.
And now they can't. Fields is a starter there for the foreseeable future.
Correct.
I don't know why we're being negative about the Dolphins because they had the best loss of any team in the state of Florida.
Nice.
As bad as it was on Sunday, the Bucs got blown out by the Broncos and the Jaguars looked like the worst team in the world with their starting quarterback. Now, Snoop Huntley, a Pro Bowl quarterback, maybe coming into the fold. You should be positive you're a Dolphins
Good
fan.
loss.
Pro Bowl
Good loss.
quarterback. Good
Yeah.
loss.
Greg Cote is saying the Dolphins have only themselves to blame. And on God Bless Football and elsewhere, Billy has been trying to get off the ground the hot air balloon of Sunday was a great day for Tua.
It was a good day for Tua. I mean, okay. Everyone seems to be in an argumentative spirit today. Are we going to argue that Sunday was a bad day for Tua?
He probably had a headache.
He should not have flown to Seattle, and I don't understand why that decision was made.
Long trip.
I get the whole let's be a supportive teammate thing, but someone has to be like, Tua, dude, like, honestly, just take a week off and go, like, spend time with your family. Spend time in a dark room. Spend time coloring. Whatever you want to do, just don't do this.
Coloring? I think that was, like, a subtle way to send the message, like, quit it with the retirement talk. Like, leave me alone. I'm hopping on this plane. I'm going to be around this team. You can't interview me after the game, but this is a subtle way to, like, put some of that talk down.
I agree that the Dolphin quarterback calamity has made Tua look good because and there are a lot of Dolphin fans out there who think he's overrated, who think he's should not have gotten the big contract he got, and now those same fans have to reconsider. They have to recalibrate their thought because Tua is so, and another prevailing thought with Dolphin fans is, in Mike McDaniel's offense, anybody can go in there. They got Tyreek Hill, they got Waddle, they got a good running game. Anybody can go in there and put up big numbers. No, they can't, because they don't have another quarterback who's nearly as good as Tua.
I brought this up yesterday, and I need the help from the group on this. Can you guys explain to me how you've arrived at Skylar Thompson is what he was against Seattle, but isn't what he was in a road playoff game against Buffalo? I just want to know where your takes are on this, because when they went to Buffalo and faced this Josh Allen and lost whatever it was, 38-35, it was some game in the 30s, you guys were very impressed with you guys were making the opposite argument on when Mike McDaniel travels with a quarterback, he can do it with anybody. And as I recall, that was a hugely injured Dolphin team. It wasn't just Tua that was injured.
Yeah, but I believe Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, and Armstead played that game. That offensive line, when they had those three, was good a couple years ago. And I think to the point I made yesterday of why are backup quarterbacks good in San Francisco but not here, the offensive line, like Armstead went out, Austin Jackson went out in the last game. Like, there are just huge offensive line questions still for this Dolphins team.
I also don't think anyone was celebrating Skylar Thompson's performance after that game. He had a 44 quarterback rating, or his rating was 44, a QBR of 23.3. He had 2 interceptions and 1 touchdown. He was 18 of 45. He was bad. And like, we learned that day he's not good enough.
And the point is, even if he had a great game, it's such a small sample size with him. He's unproven. He's untested. My whole point about the backup quarterback to Tua has to be a veteran who's been around, who's started dozens of games, who you can rely on, who you know is not going to hurt you.
You know what's funny to me is, of all the complaints about Skylar Thompson and how bad he's been, is no one wants to discuss like how Tua has played worse than him.
The thing that I thought was interesting about what Chris Cote just said is that in that Buffalo game, Tua lost his health and his capacity to play quarterback well as soon as the left side of his line went away. And what we're saying about the assessments on yesterday don't have anything to do with the offensive line. Like, none of the analysis, the Dolphins have only themselves to blame that the left side of their offensive line has physically gotten hurt, because those two guys don't have the ability that you say that Jayden Daniels has to keep from being injured in that sport.
No, but when is the NFL and coaches and GMs going to realize, hey, having a backup quarterback is really important? I understand what you're saying about the offensive line, and it was a good point. But when are they going to realize? This is the same thing that happened to the Jets, and Greg is right and Billy is right. If you have a quarterback and your chief concern with that quarterback is his health, you better have a good backup.
Stu,
you better have a backup that's not Skylar Thompson.
Stu, they do, but when you decide to sign Tua to the kind of deal that you do, you have to make business decisions. It's a cap sport. Everyone has this. We had this discussion about why don't they trust a third quarterback for emergencies? It's available to them. They decide to try to win in the margins and play likelihoods. They decided to dedicate a large piece of their cap to the starter and then not have that insurance policy.
Mahomes gets paid a bunch, and they have Carson Wentz.
Less than Tua.
Yeah, they have Carson Went's.
Well, that's
I'm agreeing with you guys. Backup quarterbacks aren't that expensive.
No.
You can find money for.
You could have had
Mitch
Sam
Trubisky.
Darnold for $10 million this year.
Yeah. They lost the best player in the NFL according to the players. Okay, they had to make tough decisions. Yeah, they got Carson Wentz because they decided to let Tyreek Hill go because they're paying a guy that can win Super Bowls independent of losing the best player in the NFL.
But that's also why, it's fair to question management. If they decided Tua was going to be their guy, why didn't they sign him earlier in the offseason? And you could have gotten him for $2-3 million less a season had you just signed him before Trevor Lawrence, and then you could have used that money on a backup quarterback. The fact that they waited so long is why they had to pay him so much, because the price of quarterbacks just kept going up. And then if it's a situation with a cap, you guys put yourselves in that position.
I know that we love to do this, okay, because we are all financial analysts on the salary cap in a way that is funny to me. But I just
$4 million for Andy Dalton.
Thank you, Stugotz. I just saw Jerry Jones,
yeah,
famous wealthy person,
yeah,
come out and say that they couldn't afford Derrick Henry. And I don't know that anyone thought that was a dumb thing to hear, but the way the rules are implemented in a violent sport where the NFL, of all things, makes the teams be cheap at places that make it so that the product on Sunday is going to have 17 backup quarterbacks by week 6. Like the product is going to go to shit because no one can stay healthy because the defensive linemen are 350 pounds.
You could have had Russell Wilson for nothing. I mean, Denver's paying the tab on that.
Justin Fields for a 6th-round draft pick. Nah, we don't want him.
They also could have signed Dak earlier.
They could have
then they could have gotten Derrick Henry also. Why did they wait so long to sign Dak and then give him $60 million a year?
We're a week removed from thinking Derrick Henry was washed and asking aloud, well, Baltimore must know something if they're not giving him snaps.
All right, you know what? We need to regather ourselves. Everyone's arguing.
It's classic
week 3.
sports radio.
We need to pace ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to pace ourselves. It's going crazy here. I'm not comfortable with what's happening here. The argument has been made by these two bozos that people in the NFL know exactly how to keep them being injured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While Greg can't stop coughing.
By the way, Greg's Lobos didn't think Derrick Henry was washed. The Lobos drafted Derrick Henry onto a fantasy team.
Lobos!
He's doing great. On another of my fantasy teams, I drafted Saquon Barkley, and I heard Ghosts of Barkley references deriding the pick. How's Saquon Barkley doing in fantasy?
Mm-hmm.
Case closed.
Greg, I wish that you had given me that insight because unfortunately this week in our God Bless Football Dan Le Batard Show Listener League, presented by Smirnoff. By the way, you were asking me earlier, how can you join? You can join GBF's weekly contest for a chance to compete against the cast, plus win cash prizes. DKNG.co/Smirnoff, presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. Had I known that, I would have drafted Derrick Henry, and I could have potentially had a repeat performance. Last week, I finished in 5th place. Guess what place I finished in this week, Dan? 625th place. But that's the thing about this weekly league, Dan. One week to the next, it completely resets. So people could say, oh my gosh, Billy, you're in 5th place. You must be dominating now. And then you fall back 600 places. Your season must be over. No, friends. Every week, you start anew, and you can start anew and join me and Stugotz and maybe Greg and Mike and Chris and whoever else. You just go to the website, you join for free, $3 buy, and you win some real cash. Every week's a new week, one week to the next.
How many people in that league?
Well, last week there was over 600.
There can't be a lot of good free agents on the waiver wire in that league.
Well, no, I'm glad you asked.
Every week it's a new lineup. Yeah.
You just have a sum of money, and then you pick your team. Everyone can have the same players or different players. Yeah. It's incredible the way you put your lineup together.
What a great idea.
DKNG.co/Smirnoff.
Yeah, I have to look into that.
Didn't you say that daily fantasy was a cruel mistress?
It is. That's why it's a cruel mistress.
Yeah.
1 week you're at the top of the world in 5th place, winning $125. The next week, 625th place. You think you know things, and then you quickly get brought back down to earth by that cruel mistress. Daily fantasy.
All right, let's do it.
You don't know anything.
Let's do it.
It is time now for a weekly update on our favorite team, Rex Lobos. Here is their head coach and president of football operations, Greg Cote.
Lobos! Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Lobos! Is daily fantasy a cruel mistress at Le Batard Show?
But the highs are high. But, brother, the lows are low.
Oh, yeah.
Why did you just become Hulk Hogan?
You have to.
Greg's Lobos.
This is a new and unimproved Dan Le Batard show with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie Wolves is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
Dan Le Batard.
All right, we got to go back out there. That was big. Wake him up.
He doesn't want to be bothered anymore. Now it's getting tense because he didn't need that as a result. He needs something that happens.
You can see him mother effing on it.
He says,
Can we bother?
Yes.
Are we bothering you right now?
Turn on your microphone, Greg.
My microphone's on.
Stugotz.
Paint the scene.
Paint the scene is I got to go to work. Good night.
This is the Dan Le Batard show with the Stugotz.
You guys started on Trevor Lawrence and blaming Trevor Lawrence, and I'm legitimately stunned to learn that Bengals-Commanders game is the first game since 1940 with no turnovers or punts. Since 1940.
Huh.
Crazy.
No turnovers.
Steve Martin said that earlier.
No punts. I still think it's crazy. I think it's nuts, the idea that we would go that long without a game that felt or looked like that, especially as defenses are going nuts all over the league. But Chris, you and I, before we get to Dianna Russini, I believe that you and I have a unique access to knowing when your father is snorting enraged, snorting mad. And he is furious that he was not allowed to give his Lobos update. And look at him. He is seething right now.
I am also furious because Greg comes down here every Tuesday, and sometimes he comes down here multiple times per week, and he wants to give a Lobos update that I, for one, love, and I would like to hear about his team. I
believe that nobody cares about your fantasy team. I don't mean you personally. I mean the fantasy team of others.
I believe that everyone cares about Greg's, though. Also, and I don't want to betray any confidences, but there may have been conversations in the makeup room where Greg said, "You know what? I want to surprise Dan today with a back in my day, and I'm just going to spring it on him if he lets me get that Lobos update in." But now that you didn't, it seems like it's too little too late on this one. Even if you let him do it now, I think he's going to hold out and not give you that back in my day.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it now.
Yeah.
You don't have a back in my day.
Well,
I did, but I
we'll
won't
never
do it
learn.
now.
You'll never know.
Yeah, well put, Stu guys.
He's enraged.
Well, listen. Okay. The Lobos update is a thing or it isn't. It's a bit on the show or it isn't. Don't cue the music and have me get ready to do it, and 2 words in, give me the dumb hard network out. And this happened to be a week, by the way. Anybody who plays fantasy football can appreciate what I'm about to tell you.
Hold on, give him the music because he's going to give the update whether we want it or not.
Give it.
He's going to give the update. He's
from the top.
Don't fall for it, Greg.
Giving it.
It's going to be very quick.
Chris's
you want the whole thing?
Yeah, I want the pomp and the circumstance.
No, I'm just going to give it to you quick. It's a 10-team.
It is time now for a weekly update on our favorite team, Rex Lobos.
Okay.
Here is their head coach and president of football operations, Greg Cote.
You're good.
Lobos. Okay, Greg's Lobos.
It is time now for a weekly update on our favorite team, Rex Lobos.
Long intro.
Here is their head coach and president of football operations, Greg Cote.
Lobos. Lobos. Randy Scott stinks.
Okay. You might not care about anybody else.
It's time now for a weekly update on our favorite team, Rex Lobos.
I don't like this.
What's happening?
Here is their head coach and president of football operations, Greg Cote.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Dianna Russini joins us. She's the senior NFL insider for The Athletic. She's got a very smart podcast.
Walk out in a minute.
It's called Scoop City. You can check out new episodes on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Go on. Just pretend like, in fact, you want me to walk out?
No, I don't want you to walk out. I want you to
walk out. I walk out. I'm telling you right now.
Well, we've got Dianna. I could get good analysis from her on how players don't have the ability to stay not injured
I bet
in
she
that
feels
league.
differently.
Let's hear about Diana's fantasy team, huh? How'd you do this week?
He's enraged.
Diana's Lobos.
He's really mad.
Oh, Lobos!
Do you believe anyone cares about the fantasy teams of others, Dianna?
It's like hearing about people's dreams. I don't care. Don't care about your dreams. I don't care about your fantasy team. But Greg, I do though, because I can tell that you have passion about your team. Can you give me one update, just one, and then we'll get going and talk real football?
Okay.
You want the open or?
Okay. Anybody who plays fantasy football.
It is time now for a weekly update on our favorite team, Rex Lobos.
No, Greg, I did that for you.
We had to reset.
He's gonna do it again.
President of football operations, Greg Cote.
He won't do it again.
If he does it
He
again,
will not
I am walking out.
You've made
Greg,
that clear.
Greg, Dianna asked.
You have made it clear. Dianna asked, and we are supporting the Lobos update. It's not going to happen again.
Wait, is there an intro?
No, don't do that, Dianna, you need to
turn on the original audio. Dianna missed it.
We've already heard the intro 9 times.
She missed it.
We will lose him.
Guys, I just hopped on. I didn't hear it.
All right,
You guys should have like a.
It's an
You guys should
original
have a
audio
drop, like a sound thing to like introduce it, so we know what it is.
That's a good idea, Dan.
Chris,
Get it
don't
sponsored.
do it again. Please.
The Lobos are not just any.
No!
Time now for a weekly update on our
She didn't hear
favorite
it.
team,
She didn't hear.
Rex
I walk
Lobos.
out with him.
Here is their head coach and
You're not
president
going
of
to get him
football
back.
operations.
I
Greg
promised him
Cote.
you weren't going to do that. He just shouted on his way out of the room. Matthew Stafford is made of wicker.
I don't like that.
I didn't like it either. That was wrong.
I don't like this.
Elder abuse.
Dianna
This is
asked
bad.
for the open.
This is the worst thing you've done. Yeah. This is bad. You need to apologize.
You should apologize.
I'm not doing bit. This is bad.
I didn't think that was right. I wouldn't have done that last one. I wouldn't have
I'm
done
sorry.
that last
Just
one.
but back in my day, you would never do that. Like you would never be disrespectful to somebody on the show who's just trying to share what they care about. But things are different. I feel bad. Like I'm sorry I asked for the open. I just was thinking they should make this like a thing, like a segment
To honor
where we
Greg.
check. Yeah.
To celebrate his fantasy team, even though you don't care about anyone else's, his is the one we care about. Evidently, he had a record-breaking week in fantasy. This is supposed to mean something to us. He had 222 points. He had 4 people go over some crazy point total. So
Yeah.
I guess it's a lot of points, and he wanted everyone to know it.
Did he play Saquon?
We may never know now.
He could have played any number of people who were. Would you have liked? How would you have liked to have had on that team just Goddard? Just Goddard on Sunday, a tight end. All of a sudden, they have no one else to throw to in Philadelphia, and because 3 Saints are running into each other, Goddard is showing you that he's a whole lot faster than anyone thought Frankenstein should be.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles offense right now is slightly confusing to me. I think Saquon Barkley was obviously the hero and saved the day in general for this offense. But look, Nick Sirianni says he is going to be tinkering and weighing in on some of the play calls now. So I thought that was a really interesting sort of addition to what this Eagles team is doing, which was kind of allowing Sirianni to just be the CEO and oversee it and not really get involved in all this decision-making stuff on the field. But now he's going to be part of it. So I am genuinely very curious to see how this works, because the problem last year, from what I was told, was that it was Nick's call on everything. Like, that was Nick, what you saw out there on the field. And then they sort of took that away from him a bit here, promoted him, gave him a bigger role in a way, and now he's going to go back to having some influence on this with Kellen Moore. So I don't know if it's a good thing. I know Nick is a great offensive coordinator. I like to believe this, but we'll see how his contributions mix with Kellen Moore now, what that's going to look like for Philly that is hanging on.
If you had to assign most interesting thing to the things that happened last night, because these guys both voted on blaming Trevor Lawrence, what would you say was the most interesting thing from last night if you can only pick one thing?
From both games, I'll go to the other game with the Bengals and Washington. I think for me, just watching Jayden be as good as he was last night, and to watch somebody's coming out party, to just see it and sort of even just the shot of his dad, like, wow, we are watching something. Dan, you know this. I covered Washington sports for a while. I was a local sports anchor there. And I arrived the year after Robert Griffin III. So I missed that electric year. And I would just spend so much of my time during training camp that following season hearing stories from all the old then Redskins talking about what it was like that year before. And I just remember thinking I missed it. Like, I missed what it was like to live in that city when people were all in on this team. And to see it look the same way last night, to have that feel like, ooh, the last time I remember Washington being this electric, and just even based on the people reaching out to me today in the Washington area is tremendous. So the reason why I bring him up, because I remember during the draft process, and we've talked about this before, and I think there's been a lot of insiders and people that cover the league, they've brought this up, that a lot of people thought Caleb Williams was number one. That is without a doubt. We're not going to rewrite history. But I definitely spoke to some head coaches who thought Jayden was better. And I remember reporting it and feeling a little uncomfortable with it. The coaches that told me are fantastic, by the way. They're very good coaches, and they're head coaches. But I remember in the moment thinking, this is like against the grain. Everyone is saying Caleb's the guy. Maybe these coaches don't really know. But now we're seeing where, look, I still think Caleb Williams is going to be really good. I think two things can be true. I think Jayden can be really good and is arriving sooner with just a better team around him at this moment, with a better offensive coordinator. And Caleb may just need a little bit more time. So I definitely thought of those conversations, though, last night, watching Jayden, knowing how many people in the league had their eyes on him on draft night, hoping to get up to try to see if Washington would do a deal. And they obviously were not going to do that, especially after Topgolf.
And for Washington to finally have like their guy at quarterback, when you look at Terry McLaurin's career, this is his 6th season, and you look at the list of quarterbacks who've completed a pass to McLaurin before Jayden Daniels, it's Jacoby Brissett, Sam Howell, Carson Wentz, Garrett Gilbert, Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, Dwayne Haskins, Case Keenum, Alex Smith, and Colt McCoy. Those are the guys they've had there over the last 5 years.
This has to be making Daniel Snyder crazy.
I care about your fantasy team. I care about the Lobos. What they're doing is just straight wrong to you. It is wrong. So please, Greg, tell me, it's your birthday week. You come down here, you make the commitment, you make the time for us. I care about you. I care about your fantasy team. Tell me about the Lobos.
You always support me, Stugotz. I really appreciate you. Other than you didn't go to my birthday party, I really appreciate the support. The thing that got me so mad about this is that this is the one time when a Lobos update was actually called for. Okay, anybody who plays fantasy football knows what I'm talking about. It's a 10-team league, right? If you score 150 points, you've had a great game, great scoring game. I scored 222 points.
222 points?
It's like it's got to be a league record. I had 5 players with 30 points or more. Wow. 5 players, including both my running backs, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley.
Who was the MVL?
The NBA, you know what? I had 5 players all with like 30 or 31 points. Wow. So I don't know who the it's a 5. I'm going to give out 5 trophies.
Thank you, camera people, for zoning in dangerously close to Stugotz's ass crack there. It's terribly unpleasant. You were saying, though,
that's
Dianna,
not an undershirt?
Why is he wearing a white shirt underneath a long sleeve shirt?
I'm sure that's his skin there. That was his skin. That was not a shirt. He's now hidden it because he's afraid, and the love handles were protruding. Oh, look, get in there close. Yes, there it is. There's some hair.
All right, cut away. Whoa.
I cannot believe that's not a white t-shirt. That is the color of his skin. He lives in Florida. Why is his skin so white?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's usually hidden. Unfortunately, that was not hidden. But you were saying how Daniel Snyder must experience that they now clearly have a quarterback.
Yeah, I just knowing how badly he wanted to win and how many mistakes he made, and now you have new ownership coming in here, and it appears that they've got the right GM. They sorted out the head coaching thing despite not getting the guy they wanted, so that seems to be working. We're 3 weeks in here. Commanders fans are electrified by the fact that they now have a quarterback who looks like he's got potential to be the best quarterback they've had in decades. And look, I was going through Twitter and reading some stories this morning, and it definitely feels like just a surge of excitement because we saw so much from a rookie quarterback in just one game. When in week 1 or 2, I think we were questioning some of his decisions to run out of the pocket in some moments where he didn't need to. But the fact that he was able to sit in the pocket the way he did and make the throws, it just tells you that it's there. Washington just can't mess it up. Like, just don't mess this up. You've got the guy. You've got the guy probably for a long time. So as excited as I think Washington probably is, I don't care what you say. Those fans are have their fingers crossed behind their back, hoping that this isn't the Washington of old, that this new regime, and it appears that they've got this thing on the right track, is going to be able to handle this and manage success. Because you always hear it's one thing to deal with the issues and the adversity, but it's another when you deal with success. We'll see how they do it.
Listening audience, a lot has changed over our 20 years together. One thing that hasn't, the great taste of Miller Lite. Yeah.
I think we're all saying the same thing. The only beer worth talking about is Miller Lite.
Yeah. Although, but here, just so we're clear, this is a Miller Lite show.
I know it is.
And hey, Roy, out of curiosity, when you were winning your barbecue competition, I'm sure debates sprouted everywhere. But one thing that's not up for debate, the undebatable quality of Miller Lite.
You tell them.
Oh, it's long slow, by the way. Over the last couple of years, one thing that hasn't changed. Great taste of Miller Lite. And another thing that hasn't changed, less filling. Only 96 calories per 12 ounce.
They sparked this debate way back in the 1970s.
The original light beer.
You don't have to choose what's best. Miller Lite has great taste and is less filling. Tastes like Miller time. To get Miller Lite delivered right to your door, visit MillerLite.com/stand, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces. Fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer.
Now's a good time to remember where the story of tequila started. In 1795, the first tequila distillery was opened by the Cuervo family. And 229 years later, Cuervo is still going strong. Family owned from the start, same family, same land. Now's a good time to enjoy Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Go to Cuervo.com to shop tequila or visit a store near you. Cuervo, now's a good time. Trademarks owned by Becle, SAB, the CV. Copyright 2024. Próximo. Jersey City, New Jersey. Please drink responsibly.